Hello there, this is Will from Stacks for Stacks. This is just going to be a very short video to tell you about the updated Pro Gallery 2 stack, which is now available as of today. I've been working on this stack update for a couple of months now. In terms of new features and comparing version 2 to version 1, we haven't added a huge number of new features, and in actual fact in a few places we've actually scaled back on the feature set. The focus of this update has been to bring in a lot of performance enhancing features such as lazy loading and progressive loading, which will mean that you can build much bigger and more dynamic galleries for your images and video. And in addition to that, we're rolling out a brand new lightbox which visually is a lot more minimal and puts more emphasis on your work. So to focus on these core changes to the thumbnail grid, you can see on the screen in front of me now, this is the basics of the thumbnail grid that can be generated. Not a lot has changed visually, but you will notice that as I scroll down the page, the lazy loading takes effect, and you can see that more thumbnail images are being loaded and added to the bottom of the grid as I scroll the page down. This has the potential to mean that you can build much bigger galleries. In this instance here, the total combined size of all these images, including the lightbox images and the retina display images, is close to 400 megabytes. Ordinarily, it would be quite dangerous and almost impossible to load 400 megabytes of images as the page loads. A lot of people wouldn't be able to access your pages, it's as simple as that. This new system of lazy loading and progressive loading means that images and video are only going to get loaded on demand. So in this instance I've scrolled the page all the way to the bottom, so in that case all my thumbnail images have been loaded, but when I go to open the lightbox, it's only then that the full size images are going to get called from the server and loaded. This has two benefits really, both for you and the user. From your benefit, you're going to be able to cut down on the amount of bandwidth that your website is consuming. A lot of people in Rapidweaver land use shared web hosting. I don't blame you, it's brilliant. I use shared web hosting too, but there can be quite tight constraints on the amount of bandwidth that shared hosting accounts have. Secondly, from the perspective of the end user, this new system of progressive and sort of lazy loading does mean that if they're not viewing the entire image gallery or video gallery, the content is just loaded on demand. So what they ask for, they get, and everything else is just ignored and not downloaded. It's a very smart system, it works very well, and this will help you a lot in building much larger image galleries of perhaps several hundred or even thousand images or video files. Opening the lightbox itself, you can see it's had a bit of an overhaul. It's now a lot more minimal in appearance. The navigation controls have been refined. We've got rid of sort of lesser used features like thumbnails and zoom controls, which from experience a lot of people weren't using and were just finding they just cluttered up the lightbox. You'll notice as well that towards the bottom of the image, the caption content and the title is displayed actually underneath the image rather than overlaying your image or video content. This is done on purpose, and I think it works really well because it means that when you're in the lightbox, you've got maximum focus on your image or your video file. You don't have bits of interface controls and captions and content and whatever else overlaying your image and just adding to the visual clutter. This is a much cleaner, smarter lightbox, and indeed it supports keyboard navigation. And if you're viewing this on an iPhone or an iPad or an Android phone or anything like that, you've got swipe support as well using finger gestures. So it's a lovely lightbox to navigate through media with. With regards to setup in Rapidweaver, Pro Gallery is much the same as before. You'll just want to open your library, search for Pro Gallery 2, add a copy of the stack to your page. The parent stack still contains the options for the actual lightbox, the thumbnail grid and a couple of general settings. All these options can be opened and collapsed as and when you need them. The default options are pretty nice to work with, but you've got plenty of scope to come in here and to customise things, have a play around and match your existing website or corporate branding with custom colours and styling and things like that. The choice of sources for images and videos has been reduced, so we've merged together a lot of the image and video sources into just these 4 key ones. Single image is by far the easiest one. You can see out here in the right hand side we can toggle between dragged and dropped images or warehoused images which you can put into your gallery, and you can just progressively build a gallery image by image. This is a nice simple one. We've now got provision for both image titles and captions, whereas before you were only restricted to only being able to use titles. The alternative link, this is a nice option because what you can now do in Pro Gallery, and again this is in response to user feedback, is that in the lightbox settings we can now actually disable the lightbox and turn it off altogether and just have a thumbnail grid. So this new option for an alternative link means that when the lightbox is turned off, you can set an alternative link which will be applied to that thumbnail image. A prime example of this would be you could create a new Pro Gallery page on perhaps your home page. You could turn off the lightbox and just display thumbnail images. Each thumbnail image could represent a simple gallery or a more information page or anything like that, or indeed you could have other Pro Gallery pages nested within your website, and you can actually use this new alternative link option as a means for people to navigate from your thumbnail grid onto these other pages. It's a good system of being able to create a more complex gallery setup and promote easier and more efficient navigation of your website. Alongside the single image, we now also have the single video. This combines a couple of different video sources which were offered in the previous version of Pro Gallery. Again, you can toggle between a thumbnail which is either dragged and dropped or a warehoused thumbnail, and the video link can either be to an MP4 file which you host yourself on a web server, or you can link to a YouTube video or a Vimeo video or anything which allows you to directly embed a video within your website. Pro Gallery is a bit more automated now, it's more clever. It can actually see what type of video you're trying to embed in the site and it will adjust the code accordingly. And the option still exists to provide a video title and a video caption. The other source we've kept is directory of images. Directory of images is restricted to only being able to handle images. We don't have video support in this one. However, it ties in very nicely with some other third-party solutions like the Total CMS stacks and Pulse CMS, and even the free FileMan and Droplet stacks which I offer through the Stacks for Stacks website. This is a great way to connect Pro Gallery to a folder of images that already exists on your web server via a relative path. Pro Gallery will navigate to that location, try and find the images, pull them into the page and build a nice gallery around them. It's a very nice automated system. A lot of improvements have happened this time around in that we now look for dedicated thumbnails and retina images, and we can sort those out based on what they're named and reuse those in your gallery too. So that's a really nice one. And then the fourth and final source we've added is CSV file. Hasn't changed a huge amount from before, but this time around we've added a bit more information into the spreadsheet file. So we've got both titles and captions, we've added support for retina images, and we've also got the non-lightbox links as well. So there's quite a bit going on, and indeed the CSV file is what I'm using in this demo here. I simply created a CSV file in OpenOffice. I exported the data, added it as a resource here in Rapidweaver. You can see it here. And then on my Pro Gallery setup here, I've simply gone into set link, added it as a resource. You preview your page and it works. And even though this is a PHP page, you can see it does work in Rapidweaver Preview, which is another new feature I've been able to add with the addition of high resolution retina image support. So there is a fair bit going on. We have just taken out a few things, in particular the slideshow. I did sort of consult with some experts who do a lot with images and video on websites. The general consensus was that slideshows are less relevant within a lightbox context because quite often slideshow might run too fast or it might run too slow. So with that in mind, we've watered down the slideshow options. You can see there is still an option here in the slideshow, and indeed if I go ahead and preview this page, I'll just open the first image. I'm not touching anything on the screen right now, but you can see that the lightbox is just cycling through these images every 5 seconds, just sort of a basic slow pace like that. The option is there if you want it or you don't, and again there's quite a few other options to customise the appearance of the lightbox. So altogether, like I say, not a huge amount of new features being added, but what is in the stack we've made a lot better, easier setup, some very nice enhancements, particularly towards page loading speed and being able to support much larger galleries. There's a lot more options for the styling of captions which you can apply to your thumbnails and various other bits and pieces like that. If you've got any questions at all about Pro Gallery, then please do get in contact with me. You can reach me via email or social media. Just get in contact via the Stacks for Stacks website. I love to hear your thoughts and feedback, and if you've got any questions or need help with Pro Gallery, then I'd love to help you out with it, and hopefully we'll be able to build some really great galleries together.